Chinese, Mandarin and the regional dialects, is the only tonal language known in the world. Tonal language means that words with the same pronunciation but different in their intonations can have different meanings of the words. As already discussed very early in my video number 2, each Chinese character is one syllable word with its own meaning and its specific tone. So, pinyin naturally is inseparable from its tone. Because of it, I'm discussing the tone in Mandarin in this video. However, as the tone is one of the unique characteristics of Mandarin and Mandarin tones are quite standard, our lectures or discussion on Mandarin or pinyin everywhere have lengthily discussed this tone aspect in very details. Therefore, as it's not the focus of this basic pinyin playlist, I would only bring it briefly. Mandarin basically has 4 different intonations. First intonation is a flat intonation with a slightly high pitch. It's called as yin intonation. For an example, ji. 2. The second intonation is a slightly rising intonation from middle pitch. It's called as yang intonation. For an example, ji. 3. The third intonation is a low tone or lowering followed by a bit rising intonation with the overall pitch at pretty low level. It's called as shang intonation. For an example, ji. 4. The fourth intonation is a sharp downward intonation, similar to the last syllable intonation in commanding or scolding sentence in English. It's called as chi intonation. For an example, ji. So, if those 4 intonations are lined up together, they would sound ji 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 ji. And those 4 intonations for fu pinyin would sound fu 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 fu. But not every pinyin has all complete 4 intonations, such as pinyin MIE does not have the second nor the third intonations, whereas pinyin SE only has the 4th intonation. Apart of those 4 intonations, there are also light intonations that are pronounced very short with a neutral pitch that tends to be a bit high. The spelling symbol is a dot on top of the pinyin or even without any tone notation. For an example, the interjection or particle a, which was the topic of my previous video. To understand better the criticality of the intonation, north in Mandarin is pe, the third intonation. If the intonation is incorrectly pronounced pe, such as in first intonation, its meaning could be interior, sad, cup, just to mention a few. Well, pe in fourth intonation has meanings of multiply, wolf, or dozens of other meanings, but it will no longer mean north anymore. To make it worse, pinyin E has about 100 different meanings with its all 4 intonations. As each character, which is a word which is also a syllable, has its specific intonation, and altering its tone alters its character and its meaning, you have to be careful that you cannot alter your final intonation as in your English way when you speak a command or a question sentence. In English, you will raise your final intonation for "Is it delicious?" The sentence translation into Mandarin is "好吃吗?" or to be more simplified as 好吃. Then, its affirmative answer would be 好吃. In spoken conversation without the ability to see the question mark, both question and answer are pronounced exactly the same. 好 means good, is fixed pronounced as third tone, and 吃 means eat is pronounced as first tone, with no other alternative. That's Mandarin. As mentioned in my previous video, that my playlist Basic Pinyin is aimed to limit on Mandarin pinyin regardless of the Chinese character or even further of their meaning. However, in discussing the Mandarin intonation, we have to explain intonations of the specific characters. E, which has the meaning of one, and O, which has the meaning of no. E, by itself, it's pronounced with the first intonation, E. If it's immediately followed by a fourth intonation, it's pronounced with the second intonation, E. For an example, Yipan. If it's immediately followed by the other three intonations, it's pronounced with the fourth intonation, E. For an example, ipan. With those intonation variations, the meaning is still one, not altered. Pu. By itself, it's pronounced with the fourth intonation, pu. If it's immediately followed by a fourth intonation, it's pronounced with the second intonation, pu. For an example, puyao. Otherwise, it's pronounced with its standalone fourth intonation, pu. For an example, pu xiao. With those intonation variations, the meaning is still no, not altered. Other than the intonation alteration of E and pu above, there is some common intonation alteration rule for the third intonation. A third intonation pinyin will alter into a second intonation if it's followed immediately by a third intonation pinyin. For an example, ni hao is pronounced as ni hao, compared to ni chi is pronounced as ni chi. So, if there are 3 or 4 and so on consecutive pinyin which all originally are third intonation, using the analogy of above point, we need to work from the last of the third intonation of pinyin to the front. Let's say that the last one is the nth. The n-1 pinyin has to change to the second intonation. Then as the intonation n-1 pinyin is already the second, the third intonation of n-2 pinyin does not need to alter. And the consequence, the third intonation of n-3 pinyin has to change to the second intonation, and so on. For an example, hen, yong, kan, mu, lao, hu is pronounced as hen, yong, kan, mu, lao, hu. Note that all these 6 characters are originally third intonation pinyin. Does it mean that we have to plan or calculate in advance before we speak? Welcome to Mandarin. But don't worry about this. In certain cases that we need to speak very slowly, or even when we speak a letter by a letter, we may pronounce them all in third intonation. As mentioned before, tonal language is one of the unique characteristics of Mandarin, so adapting its 4 intonations will be very difficult for new learners, especially in natural speaking speed. The second intonation is quite indistinguishable from the third intonation, as well as the first intonation from the fourth intonation, along with the light intonation. This phenomenon is known as minimal pairs in phonetics terms, where a pair is quite different for native speakers, but quite indistinguishable for new learners. It's practically proven that in general minimal pairs case, it takes a lot of extra effort and patience to practice in mastering another spoken language. I will stop my discussion of the Mandarin intonation here, and you could get so many discussion and explanations for Mandarin tones in details everywhere else. So that's all for this video number 19, and thank you for watching.